Today's Saturday, October 3rd, week 40 of 2020. We've had a great week. Hope you have too. Our week started off on Sunday where we had 2 seasons in one day. In the morning, it was very warm and the seasons changed in the middle of the day. I went out to the lake and did some video out there, just seeing people on their boats and stuff like that. Then a storm rolled in and the temperature dropped 20 degrees and got cold and rainy and windy, and it went from summer to fall just like that. So with that rainy evening, we were in kind of a movie watching mood, and we sat down and were looking through some of the movies that we hadn't seen yet. Jill and I watched Larry Crown, romantic comedy, very funny, being it has Tom Hanks in it and Julia Roberts. It kind of made me think that maybe it was a bit of the inspiration for the TV show Community. Ends up going back to a community college. Julia Roberts is one of his professors in a speech class. Very, very funny. Then after that, we watched a really cool movie called The Upside with Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart. I didn't realize it's based on a true story about a guy who had become a paraplegic in an accident paragliding. He needed someone to help him. Kevin Hart's character is one that didn't even realize what he was showing up for his job interview. Ends up getting the job as Cranston's caretaker. Just a lot of neat twists and funny things that happen in that movie. It's very much an overcomer story for both the characters in there. Monday, I got a little curious about baseball caps because I was wearing my headset for work, this headset that I wear for when I'm on conference calls. I was wearing a ball cap at the time. The band on the top kept hitting this button on the top of the ball cap. I was like, why do these ball caps even have these buttons? And does it have a special name or anything like that? I looked them up, and the ball cap manufacturers just call it a button, and its function, I guess, is just to keep all the panels together right there. I guess if you pull it off, underneath it is just kind of a rough edge of where all the 6 panels come together. And I looked it up online, was wondering if there's any special name for that button. It's not like any other buttons you see. I mean, all of them are cloth covered with the same cloth as the ball cap usually. Sometimes it's a contrasting color. Came across a guy who said he'd always heard of it referred to as a Squatchee. Not sure why a Squatchee exactly. So I came across another article of a guy that was talking about he wanted to research what that thing was called and why someone would call it a Squatchee and that sort of thing. And he came across several people who said this commentator, retired baseball player, Bob Brentley had always called it a Squatchee or a Squatcho. And so he called up Bob, talked to him. He said, yeah, I've always called it a Squatcho, and it's because the guy I played with back in the day, he called it a Squatcho. The guy he played back with in the day was Mike Krukow. Sorry, Mike, if I'm mispronouncing your name. They did a little more digging and they realized that probably Mike got it from this book that was the series of books that were popular back in early mid 80s, somewhere in there. And I can't remember who the author was. Well, I want to say it was some famous comedian. I'll look it up because I ordered a copy of the book. The book is called Sniglets. The subtitle was something like Words That Aren't in the Dictionary But Should Be. I thought that was right up my alley, type of thing I like to enjoy reading and finding silly stuff inside of there. Ben's taken a little interest, it looks like, in doing some video stuff, so I've been teaching him some of what I do. Hopefully that'll be a hobby that we can do together. Brian and Zach, they're not too interested in the video type stuff. In fact, they're not too interested in me pointing the camera at them, but I do it anyway because I know they'll, like Adrian Monk said, you'll thank me later. Someday when they look back on these videos, they'll enjoy them and wish that they'd smiled and waved a little bit more. Tuesday morning, I woke up a little earlier than I usually do, before sunrise, and I'd made my coffee, and I'm walking around going, what should I do? And I take a look out the front door, and I see there's a beautiful sunrise shaping up. So I grabbed my cameras, get in the car, drove out to Fellows Lake, set up some cameras, and just got a little bit of the sunrise. One of the things I really like about sunrise and sunset is the long shadows, especially when I put the camera on top of the car. There's the shadow of the car reflecting across the meadow or the tree line that's off on the other side. Probably not good if I watch it while I'm driving since it's off on the side of my car. It is nice as a passenger and it's nice on video. Before I get too far, I want to do the word of the week. Unfortunately, I don't have a word of the week this week. Brian couldn't think of any, so I decided I would turn to Encyclopedia of Immaturity, Volume 2. Still would like to find Volume 1. I picked out something in here that I thought would be fun to take a look at. In here it's called How to Booby Trap a Drink. In here it has a little picture of how to take a Diet Coke bottle, put 2 Mentos in the top of it that are held by a string that will drop when you open up the bottle. For those of you who don't know what happens when Mentos get dropped in Diet Coke, it kind of explodes and shoots all the Coke out the bottle because somehow it releases the carbonation faster. Something about Mentos in the, I don't know. This looks like a particularly messy booby trap. Might get you chased down. I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. So, use that booby trap at your own risk. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Thank you again to Melissa for giving me the book of the Encyclopedia of Immaturity. It is definitely helping me be less mature. Wednesday, the big thing that day was the fact that Zach finally got his car ready to roll. His repair was done on it. He got his title, he got his plates. Happy man. Thursday was a nice crisp morning. It was beautiful outside. Zach offered all on his own to take Brian to school so that Jill wouldn't have to. Having another adult in the family to help out with taking the boys here and there, and that he's so willing and so helpful. We just are so proud of him that he's really wanting to help out. Thursday, I got to thinking about old country music that I really like, trying to figure out which ones and why I like them, stuff like that. I haven't talked any about the influence that country music has had on me over the years. I've talked about some other genres of music. I think the country that I really like is stuff I don't like the crying, loving, and leaving type of country, if you're familiar, the breakup songs and all that kind of thing. I'm not too keen on those, but I really do like the ones that evoke emotions of nostalgia. Not surprising. People talking about their hometowns and what they love about their hometowns. People talking about their grandparents. People talking about their marriages and what's made them great. So we got into, I say because I asked some of my friends to help me build out this playlist. I ended up calling the playlist Faith, Family, Friends, Freedom, and Fun Country Style. And so there's stuff in there from way back all the way up to some more modern country, but it all fits in that feel of sentiment and nostalgia. Some of them are a little bit tear-jerkers in happy ways, happy tears. It's funny. It's hard to explain how I ended up with an influence of any kind of country music in my life because I was born in Minnesota, but I did live 20 years in Texas, and I had some good friends that liked various types of country music, especially down in Texas. But even in Minnesota, my dad was a big country fan in the 80s. He liked the country like Alabama, Statler Brothers, Oak Ridge Boys, that type of thing. So a lot of the songs that are in the playlist are ones that remind me of me and Dad going fishing together and doing things, driving around in his old truck. This was up in Minnesota. It wasn't in one of your typical, you don't hear Minnesota mentioned too much in country songs. It's usually Kentucky and Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama and all of those southern states. I have a big country influence that came from out in the countryside in Minnesota with my dad. I want to say a big thank you to my friend John Nave, who, when I asked him what kind of songs he thought would fit into the playlist, he sent me like 20 different songs. I put a lot of those songs in the playlist. On Friday, it was another wonderful crisp fall morning. It was so chilly Friday morning that you could see your breath outside. It was probably in the high 30s on Friday morning. That's Fahrenheit, and we're the only country in the world left that still uses Fahrenheit. So what would that be in Celsius? I don't know. I need to learn Celsius because I need to get on with the rest of the world. Talked again with my friend John Nave about these videos. He had been recovering from COVID, pretty mild case it sounds like, and so he'd been in quarantine for like 10 days. He decided to sit down and watch every single one of the videos I've ever made. I was flattered, and he had some great advice and things that he suggested that I do and that I continued to do, and it was really encouraging. It was very helpful to hear from him, because as much as I love doing this, I do have ups and downs. I have times when I'm not really sure if what I'm doing is going to accomplish what I want it to accomplish. And what I want it to accomplish in this is to, one, share stuff with my family in the future. Two, I want to inspire other people to value their family's stories. These may seem like mundane little things that are going on in life. I know from like reading my grandfather's diary, travel log diary that he wrote, the little mundane things are very endearing and they're very eye-opening to what life was like in a different time period and with going through different stuff. These little things that seem simple, there's lasting beauty in them. There's lasting joy in the simple thing. So it's worth taking the time to make a little video, to take your cell phone camera and prop it up on a shelf or get a little bitty tripod thing to put it on. Sit there and ask grandma, what her favorite games were when she was a kid. Ask grandpa if he remembers the first time he met grandma. Ask them both to tell the story about when they met. All sorts of fun things. They may be a little reluctant to do it, but even that's endearing in the video that you watch later. My grandparents are all gone now. We have memories of them, and like my grandmother, I didn't get any video of her or even any audio recorded from when she was alive. I was 13 when she passed, so I wasn't on my radar yet to do that kind of thing. But I wish somebody had, because I'd love to hear her voice again. And that brings us up to today, Saturday, October 3rd of 2020. Actually, today's kind of you can hear it's already a busy day. If you're listening to this on headphones especially, you can probably hear the boys upstairs in the kitchen walking around. Sounds like they're clomping around, but it's just normal walking. Unfortunately, I need to soundproof this ceiling in my office or something. Even that is a memory that will be on the recordings if for a person who's listening for it. In fact, you can hear these little clip, 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 clip. That's the dog's nails on the wood floor upstairs. I need to trim those actually, and I need to give them all a haircut. They're getting a little bit rough. Rough? Is that a dog joke? So we're about to go to Ben's baseball game here in a few minutes. Hope it doesn't rain. His baseball team this season is called the Thunder. We all kind of have the soundtrack in the back of our minds going, Thunder, da-na-na-na-na-na-na, Thunder. Is that AC/DC? I think it is. Anyway, great song. Well, that wraps up week 40 of 2020. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.